Hey y'all, it's Michael, and today I'm here to talk about something that mentioned, quickly mentioned, in one of my vlogs. I don't know which vlog it is in particular. I'm losing track of days. I mentioned that I really hungered down on one of my reading habits, and essentially that's what I'm here to talk about. And that this year I really focused on trying, legitly trying to read 1 hour per day. And I wanted to talk to you guys about this because I think you guys should try this too. I think it's really a really good thing to do. And while 1 hour doesn't seem enough, you'll be surprised how much it's almost like a challenge during some days. In 2016, I read and listened to a lot. I read a lot of books, like physically, and I listened to so much audiobooks, like a lot. If you looked at my reading stats from last year, it's a lot of books. And this year, I noticed in the beginning of the year and towards the middle in particular, like around the summertime, I really noticed that my reading started to go down a bit. And that's because of my Mael. It's not like because of her, but this year, especially like in retrospective, that was just because I was babysitting her a lot, and I still babysit her a lot. Before in 2016, she was so young that she would literally go to sleep so much, or she didn't need that much help. Like, I could just let her on her swing and she would just swing, and while she's doing that, play with her every once in a while, like, oh, peekaboo. She would be quiet and she'll fall asleep so fast, and then that was so enough time that I could literally, for a good chunk, sit down and read. And then this year, she grew up. She's growing up so fast. That didn't happen. She was walking around. She started running so much. It's really hard to read. Even though she does take her nap regularly, I find myself that when she takes her nap, I'm exhausted. They're literally vampires in this sense that they suck your energy. I could literally just be here sitting and she could just be running around, not even bothering me, just running around playing by herself, just like or like when she's at the playground and I just noticed that I'm just tired. Watching them makes me tired. Like watching the kids make me tired, and I'm just over here like. But don't get me wrong though, the times that I do enjoy with her are really great, because I just know that when she's grown up, she's gonna be like one of those people that be like, I don't even want to hang out with you, and then I'm just gonna show her all of those clips and be like, ha! Look at all the times you wanted to hang out with me! For some odd reason, the way my reading habits work, I can't read in short spurts, so waiting in line or just 5 minutes of a time or 10 minutes, and I know those time add up, but I always view my time as of when I do get a chance to read is literally just to be by myself. I hope you guys know that, but I really do love being by myself. It is really hard when you have such a big family that tends to come over a lot. Don't get me wrong, I love it when they come over because we get to watch anime, eat food, but there are some times when you just want to be by yourself, and it's really hard to do that, and it's even harder when you have a toddler running around constantly asking you, do you want to play with me, uncle? Do you want to play with me, uncle? Do you want to play? I don't ever want to hear the word uncle. Do you ever want to play ever again? I just don't want to hear that at all. I downloaded that Book Out app. Again, this is not sponsored by them. I just really enjoyed the app. When I started tracking the amount of time that I read, and then I started forming this habit, I would get off work, then I would go to Starbucks. I would read an hour after work before I had to come home. So I started keeping track of that time. Depending on how my schedule is at work, sometimes I would have 30 minutes only to read, to have enough time to read at Starbucks, and then come home before I have to babysit. And so I was like, I think I could do this hour thing. So I started keeping track. I think it's a really great habit to form. And it does take a while to get used to reading only an hour a day, or at least minimum an hour. Obviously, it's great if you read more, but you want to strive for at least an hour a day. I started to want to do pages, but then I started realizing that some books I could read really fast. I do have the ability to speed read. I've learned this from from like high school when we constantly had to do tests, and so I would speed read things just so like I can answer the questions in time when you had like a timed test. But I choose not to speed read. You don't really get the same experience, in my opinion. Like, you don't get the same experience of like when you're reading it at your normal pace. I mentioned this also because like I do have to speed read sometimes my young adult book club books because I get the book so late because I'm always like the last one in line when I'm checking them out from the library, and so I get them at the last minute, like 2 days before we have to meet, so I'm just like because there are actually some young adult novels where I can't speed read them, like right now. I'm currently reading When the Moon Was Ours. I cannot speed read this, so I've had it for quite a while. I find that it's really hard. If it's a hard novel to speed read because it's the way that she's writing. It's very colorful. Like she changes. She's constantly changes it, and it's in this weird like rhythm that I can't seem to speed read to it. But anyways, I'm going on a tangent at this point. So I started forming this habit, and I would keep track of it on my phone with the Bookout app. So what I would do, start the timer, because the Bookout app has a timer. So I would start the timer, put my phone like all the way on the opposite side of the table so I won't touch it. I can only hear it buzz. would just read for an hour, and I started realizing that this is actually a really great habit to do. And I say this because I'm starting to find out that I'm running out of time in the day. Like there would be days when I just wouldn't have time to sit down and read, and that's just because I also want to watch anime. That's another reason too why I started doing this, is because I found out that when I started doing this, I was like, I have so much time for animes. I know some of y'all don't watch anime, but as an anime viewer and anime watcher, anime, in my opinion, is watched really different, like, compared to how I watch TV. So, like, an anime episode is literally only, like, 20 minutes. But then I started doing this. When you're trying to watch it for the seasons, you're literally watching, like, over 15 animes, maybe 20. Like, 20 animes at the same time throughout a week. And so you're just like, bruh. So it was great starting to do this like only an hour a day, or trying to get an hour a day, and that I had enough time for anime, which made me happier. And I was like, oh yay, anime again. Like in 2016, I didn't watch that much anime compared to like reading. So I did notice that like I started seeing this balance on the days when I didn't have enough time to read, or let's just say I didn't have no time at all to read. I would just come home from work because I'd be so tired that I would just want to watch anime. I don't even want to read at all. That I would compensate that by, like, let's say I got so busy that I'm like, ugh, but then there would be days when I would be off, and so I would like, let's say I didn't read 1 hour for a day, I would compensate that by trying to read 2 hours the next day, and it would like pile up on each other. And while I didn't reach my goals on some of the days, I found that it was really helpful just managing the way that my life and the things that, like, the responsibilities that I have versus like my time of enjoying to read. And I would change the way I do this, because let's say for readathons, instead of like 1 hour a day, I would maybe up it up to like an hour and a half or 2 hours a day. I started forming this habit of trying to read 1 hour a day. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. Personally gonna be one of the things that I'm gonna consistently and continuously do in 2018. And I say you should join in too. I think it's such a great thing, because before, I was one of those readers of like read. But then I found myself, like I mentioned, not having enough time in the day alone, or like so much things going on in my life that I wouldn't have enough time to read. I found that doing this really balanced, I guess you could say, like, my hobbies, like my other hobbies besides reading, and I really like it. And while I never had the pressure to read it, I don't know, I didn't feel as much pressure like to try to get to that goal of keep reading. Like, you need to read to produce content for your booktube channel. And as you can tell throughout the year, that I felt as though I produced some of my best content this year, and I'll talk more about it when I do my booktube wrap up 2017 type of thing. So if you're joining, let me know. Join me. I really think it's a great thing to do, because then you'll be surprised, like, you're reading every single day 1 hour, or maybe you skip a day and then you read 2 hours for one day, that you'll start to form this habit. I think it's a great thing. So yes, until then, I'll see you guys till tomorrow. Bye.
Right where they should be. Soon everything is Christmas.